Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb. Why do you sound like that? This is Barb.
And this is Estella.
And welcome to
Cafecito.
And Crime.
What did I sound like?
You were like, buenas tardes, buenas noches. The fuck was that? What the fuck?
Well, welcome.
Welcome to today's episode. So, today we are moving locations again. We're going to try this other place. I don't know what we're going to do. Hopefully with some rain coming in.
No, there's no rain coming in.
Okay.
But next week, I think it's not supposed to go past 100.
No, it's 99.
95.
No, I saw 99.
I saw 96, 95, because fall is coming.
Oh, yeah. Ya mero. No, es que ya viene. I can feel it in the air. I can feel it in the air.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if anybody else, but Bárbara Tragedia's episode number 55 is that I don't know if I'm the only one that has a shitload of ants in their house.
No, everybody has ants. I was just talking to my friends, and they all have ants.
These motherfuckers think they own this house. So at one point, I thought I was just going to fucking move out and y'all can just have the fucking house.
Because they started, I remember we were working out in your garage y nomás se miró el bulto. And we were like, what the hell? Where'd that come from?
They were just like random.
Straight on cement.
Just random.
Little,
so then I got bit, whatever. We moved on. But then they started coming out like in the dog food. So I'm like, okay, they're hungry. I get that. So every time that he would eat, le limpiaba y lo levantaba. Okay.
No, it's because they're thirsty.
Whatever. I don't give a fuck, pero they get the fuck out of my house.
Está bien seco afuera, güey.
Me vale madre. So then, next thing you know, they started making a line right there from the back door into the trash can. So then they went out of control with the trash can.
Yeah.
But they weren't anywhere else but there. So then I was like, okay, I got saved from that. But then I decided, I was like, you know what, let's watch out cinnamon because I heard on TikTok it was good for
cinnamon. And then Barbie
cinnamon.
told me to because my restroom's full of ants. I'm like, how, where?
I know.
Why
so then, next thing you know, le puse el cinnamon. Well, they made a path in between the fucking cinnamon. Se salieron de ahí para meterse a la trash can. So then finally I'm like, you know what, I don't need a trash can in my life anyway. So I threw out the trash can. Not the whole trash can, but I threw it outside.
Put it outside. You put it outside.
Yes. And then, next thing you know, they were on the table on Saturday. So
no puedes dejar nada afuera.
No puedes dejar nada afuera. So I was cleaning. And so then we're eating breakfast. And they were biting us while we were eating breakfast on the chair. So then we cleaned up the ones there. And then these motherfuckers made a line from the front door to there was like a crumb that the kids had dropped from the pantry. And they were right there. So that this morning I just went psycho on them.
And it's not even the black ones. Son las rojas. Like
the
ones
big
from the
ones.
outside.
The fat ones that have big butts.
Yeah. Because like usually salen las black ones. Aren't there like sugar ants or something like that? Esas?
I don't know. But they were so many. I've never seen so many ants in my whole life. So this morning
like
I just went. Yeah,
like they don't go
psycho.
Anywhere.
And like my daughter has been. I even told Stella, like my son woke up on Saturday. The first thing he did was started vacuuming. Like everybody's just vacuuming ants. And then I was mad because I'm like, they're not dying. And then my sister's like, I think you have to smash them before you vacuum them. I'm like, no, I just want them to fucking die.
Leave.
And they won't.
And then you bought that spray off Amazon.
I bought spray off Amazon. The spray worked, but it's still
very minty.
Like it's very minty. So let's say that they're right here. So yeah, they'll go away, but then in an hour they'll come back. So then now I bought a bait. No, this has been like a 2-week thing.
Yeah.
So compré un bait y lo puse afuera. So right now, apparently, they're supposed to get rid of them. I haven't seen any this whole day, so we'll see. But I don't know. My dog is tired of them. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But you know what? At this point, I'm just going to leave the house. They can have it. They can have it. I'm done. So today's episode is brought to you by Estela and the roaches.
And the roaches and the ants.
And the ants. So what you got for us, sister?
Today's case, I think we've definitely heard about it. I think you've heard about it. I've heard about it. I think it was like he was kind of, I don't want to say going viral on TikTok, but there was like a TikTok about him that, if you looked at like that he like killed people just randomly and that if you looked him in the eyes, so people were like, I'm like cross-eyed when they were like,
stop.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
No, when I start talking about it, you're going to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, hopefully.
But so for today's case, we're going to Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, Omaha. Oh, yes. That is where... Wait. No, I need to tell you who's from there.
No, don't tell me, because what if that's my fun fact?
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Fine. If you would like to come with us to Omaha, then grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started. The fun, random, interesting fact about Omaha is that the cereal Raisin Bran is from Omaha.
That wasn't my rate.
No, I have another one.
Oh, shit. I was like, that has nothing to do with what I was about to say.
And it was actually introduced into the U.S. market in 1926. by Skinner's Manufacturing Company. There were other brands on the market, pero ellos fueron los primeros que le echaron raisins. They were the first ones.
Cool.
But did you ever eat Raisin Bran? I remember the commercial.
No, I remember the commercial with the little raisins que traían zapatitos.
Yeah.
Pero no, I remember my grandma used to eat off-brand Raisin Bran.
Yeah.
You know, but I never had, like, she never gave me none. So I don't remember. I think I tasted it one time.
We never had Raisin Brans. We had cornflakes. That's what we had.
Well, cornflakes had nothing to do with Raisin Bran. Cornflakes was like Frosted Flakes.
Nunca se nos sentó. Like, we couldn't.
Yeah, we didn't have.
I didn't want raisins in my cereal.
Raisin Bran was supposed to be for people so that they can poop.
Really?
Yeah. It had a whole bunch of fiber and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was just good for you.
I don't know. I've never. Well, maybe we should try Raisin Bran. I'm past 30. I'm past 35, bro. Come on.
Now, Raisin Bran wasn't the only thing. Not the only thing, but the only like known thing to come out of Omaha, Nebraska. Because I don't know if this was were you going to say Warren Buffett?
No, of course not.
Okay, then say yours.
He was a football player.
Oh, ¿quién?
I want to say that. What is the name of this guy? The Super Bowl. He has a brother. I can't think of a name. His name is Eli Manning and Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning went to Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, university.
Or something like that. Let me look it up because I ain't trying to lie, but I know that there's I know there's a football player from Omaha. Y luego?
Okay, so Warren Buffett is from Omaha, and Warren Buffett was once the richest man on the planet. And as of 2023, according to Forbes, his net worth is $121.8 billion, making him the 5th richest person on the planet.
What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Y me anda ganando by $0.billion. I'm right behind him.
No, yo tengo una cora, güey. Maybe, I know that there's somebody, my husband, if he was home, he would have known the answer to this, but I know that there's a...
Just put football player from Omaha.
I did. I don't know who it was. A whole bunch of players. I don't know who the fuck these are. Fucking some other people, but I guess, I know that there's a player that's from Omaha, Nebraska. Pero well, I guess
just went to the University of Omaha.
Or they went to the University of Omaha, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Okay,
so now... I do have to give a lot of trigger warnings for this case because we will be discussing like a lot of mental health illnesses, suicide attempts, self-mutilation, and child abuse.
Yep.
Which we don't go too deep into or anything like that, but
it is mentioned.
Yeah.
We like to give you a heads up.
So if these are topics that you cannot listen to, you can totally just skip this episode altogether. There's other episodes that you can listen to.
Yeah, we have other episodes.
So today's case begins with Nikko Allen Jenkins, who was born on September 16th of 1986 in Colorado to parents Lori Jenkins and David McGee. And even though the couple never married, they went on to have, I believe it says 6 children, but it's 5 children because the 6th one, I think ended up being raised by David, like the youngest one, the youngest girl. And Nikko was the only boy.
All girls. Crazy.
Yeah. But Nikko had like the worst childhood on the planet. He came from a family that had a lot of convicted felons that included his dad, his mom, uncles, and actually later his own sisters would be along with himself, And from an early age, he witnessed violence, physical, drug, and alcohol abuse in the home. And he himself was a victim of physical and verbal abuse from his family, like from his parents, from his sisters, from his uncles, from his cousins. And it's later reported that he was actually sexually abused by a cousin when he was a little bit older. And when he was 4, Nikko had to clean up the blood, like after a physical altercation between his mom and his dad. And he also had like anxiety and nightmares and like had like trouble sleeping. When he was little, like 7, he brought a gun to school.
What the heck? A gun?
And because he brought the gun to school, they took him out of his home and placed him in emergency foster care.
An aunt. Yeah.
Oh.
Great.
An aunt on Barbie. She just pulled it off.
I just pulled off an ant from my arm.
So, también when he was 7, su dad de él, David, had actually already been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. and he like abused alcohol and all that stuff. So he left the family también cuando Nikko was 7.
So he just took off.
Yeah, he just took off, and he would just later pass away in 2009.
Wow.
Now
he was young then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when he was 8 years old, his mom, Nikko's mom, took him to a hospital because he was making statements of like self-harm. He had grown aggressive towards others. So he was psychologically hospitalized for 11 days and evaluated by a doctor named Dr. Jane Dalkey. And she reported que he was suicidal.
Ay, pobrecito.
And a danger to his mom and his sister.
So, okay, hold on. When he went to the school with the gun, he got in trouble for that?
Yeah.
And they kicked him out of the school?
No, they placed him in emergency foster care. So lo sacaron de su casa.
Okay.
So I guess su mom got him back. So when he was 8 is cuando he started acting, making those type of threats and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, he was a danger to his mom and his sister, and he was hearing voices and carry on conversations with himself, reported audio and visual hallucinations, and that he no podía dormir, and he was wetting the bed.
Pues él también podría haber tenido esquizofrenia, ¿no? Como su papá.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dalkey at that time, which was early mid-90s,
yeah,
she diagnosed him with oppositional. Sorry.
Defiant disorder.
Defiant disorder and
I know exactly what that is.
An attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Because like we just said at that time, 8-year-old children were not being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. And actually it was later when, as Nikko grows older, that she has to testify. She says that looking back, she would have, based on her records and, her evaluation of him, she would have diagnosed him with a form of childhood bipolar disorder. His IQ was actually really low también. It was way below average. And in his youth, he was expelled from multiple schools for fighting, breaking windows.
Yeah, porque cuando tienen oppositional defiant disorder, most of them they get really angry really quick. They're se enojan como por nada, for any little thing. I mean, you could just look at them wrong and they're mad at you, and then they'll start screaming. And so anybody that has any authority, they don't respect authority. They believe and they believe that they're smarter than them, that they are I don't have to listen to you. You're nobody. So that probably causes, I'm pretty sure it causes a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. Y también he got kicked out porque he would leave without permission. He would just leave the school.
Bye, see you later.
Mm-hmm. Now, records indicate that by the age of 11, he began to get involved in gang activity.
What?
And he started carrying weapons.
Oh my God.
Before the age of 12, he had multiple indictments on multiple charges.
Holy shit.
That included 5 thefts, arson, weapons charge, and criminal mischief charges.
And so basically what you're telling me is it could always be worse.
And by 7th grade, he had stopped attending school altogether. And he would actually later get his GED in prison while he was incarcerated. Now, when he was 13, by the time he was 13, he already had a substance abuse problem. And he had already lived in 17 home placements that had been ordered by the state.
Wow. Yeah. He's just been through a lot.
And it's obviously, I'm not going into detail, but it's just a lot.
I understand that he at one point decided to make a decision that was not right, but his childhood sounds bad.
Yeah.
Not only that, but no one understanding what's going on with him. And that makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And at the time of the years and stuff like that. Yeah,
so mid to late 90s.
There's not Google that you can sit there as a mom and sit there and Google stuff. A ver, déjame ver qué puedo hacer por ese niño. There's nothing in the 90s, especially in the 90s. And his mom probably she had her own things to worry about, her own mental issues and stuff. That's so crazy.
Now, in his teenage years, he was incarcerated multiple times in a juvenile detention center. Mm. So it was... he spent a significant amount of time in one of those juvenile detention centers. And when he was released, it was 2002. And he was just released back into the general population without any assistance in transitioning him out of the juvenile detention center and without any sort of plan or any mental health plan.
So nada más lo soltaban. Yeah. They were figure it out.
And you're done.
Basically, yeah. Uh-huh.
So salió del juvenile detention center in 2002. And then not long after, on June 24th, 2002, Nikko robbed and carjacked a 21-year-old guy named Charles Prince. 2 months later, on August 26th, he carjacked a young woman named Catherine Bright at a grocery store. I believe she was 20.
Pero nomás les quitaba el carro or he would hurt them?
No, nomás les los robaba.
Oh, okay.
And he actually ended up getting caught. And in 2003, at just 17, he was convicted of 2 armed robberies and 1 count of use of a weapon to commit a felony.
At 17.
And then he was sentenced to 18 years in prison.
Wow.
And then, which was later up to 21 years, because I think he ended up like assaulting a correctional employee. So le subieron más
Como los officers, once again, because there's another ant.
So he was placed in solitary confinement for the first time in July of 2005. And he was 18 at this point. Because he had behavioral issues, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
And that's how it would go for the next 5 years.
What? They just would put him in solitary confinement, excuse me.
Because it was easier to deal with like that, right? Like for various periods of time.
Lo tenían encerrado solo.
He was by himself in a cell for 23 hours out of the day. And la única hora that he was allowed out for like any sort of exercise or anything like that, it was like in a small fenced area que le decían as like a quote unquote a dog run or a kennel.
Wow. Pobrecito.
And
I mean, I know he did stuff. I'm not saying, pero I mean, imagine like, I know we can't imagine, but I mean, come on, we're human. Like that's
you feel bad for him.
Yes, as a human being, I feel bad for him because of everything that he's gone through. Like I said, we sometimes don't make the best decisions, but you know, ay pobrecito. Like,
and so like spoiler alert, not spoiler, but just getting a little bit ahead of myself here. But by the time he was released, because he was released in 2013, so by the time of his release, he had spent 77% of his time that he had been incarcerated in solitary confinement.
So pinche madre.
With no proper mental health assistance.
Wow. Just making shit worse because all he's doing is just stewing in there.
Yeah, and you get angry.
And you get angry.
You fuck shit up.
You know, and it's like, I mean, I'm not trying to, once again, not trying to defend him or anything, but you imagine like just sitting there by yourself. You already have mental issues and then just being alone.
Yeah.
Like solo.
Sin luz.
Sin luz.
Yeah.
What the fuck? No, hombre.
Not that he was sin luz, but lo sacaban just 1 hour a day for sunlight. You know, other than that, you were just by yourself.
Imagine the vitamin D deficiency que están. De por sí que cuando uno, que we're just normal people with
deficient,
imagine
D.
them. Wow, that's crazy.
Now, according to the American Psychiatric Association, quote, prolonged segregation of adult inmates with serious mental illness, with rare exceptions, should be avoided due to the potential for harm to such inmates. Prisoners with pre-existing mental illness have more difficulty adapting to prison life and are less able to successfully negotiate the complexity of the prison environment, resulting in an increased number of rule infractions, leading to more time in segregation and in prison, end quote.
That makes sense.
So you're just
making it worse, basically, yeah. But I mean, what else can they do? I mean, as an officer or as the state or whatever, you imagine, like, what else do you do?
Get him proper mental health?
Well, yes, but let's say that they weren't doing that, and then guess what mental health cost?
I mean, it's
money. And then they're not going
to...
Yeah, but they don't... But the thing is, they rather use the money to keep it to them. I mean, I don't think that. But keep it... You know what I'm saying? Like, they just rather use the money for other resources than to make sure that one person is properly taken care of, you know?
So, while he was incarcerated, Nikko's mental health already... I mean, he was already not well. It just kind of deteriorated more, right?
More, yeah.
And his actions became super bizarre, like just really odd. And then he was telling others that he was like snorting his own semen and drinking his urine as a nutritional supplement.
Hold up. You can't just fly by that and act like I wasn't going to say nothing. Snorting his own semen.
That's what he was telling others. And that's how he kept his purity, porque he also didn't want to take some medication porque pensaba que they were poisoning him.
I mean, him and other people in this world think that they're poisoning him, so.
And I just mentioned, his mental health treatment was very inadequate, and many psychologists employed by the state concluded that Nikko had behavioral issues and a personality disorder instead of any actual a major mental illness. They just, they just thought that he was just fucking
They
shit
thought
up.
they thought it was just behavioral.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So as time was passing by, Nikko repeatedly stated, and this is just me skimming the surface, but he repeatedly told people that he was going to commit acts of violence after he was released from custody.
So he was like, I'm ready to get out so I could fuck shit up.
He gave examples, like 23 of them. Like
23 examples.
Yeah, over a period of time.
Wow.
I believe he told the unit manager that, quote, he was just going to randomly go to suburban houses and start killing people outside of North Omaha.
Wow.
Or go to Syracuse with his gang members and start killing people, and that he also had a desire to kill the administration.
Let's take a quick break.
Persons of Interest is back, and it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! 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 He's gonna shoot!
Oi! Shot fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Stay out! You gotta go on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Oh, okay. So basically, he's just telling them what
he was
to
going to
come.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as it was getting closer to his release date, he was requesting treatment. He was like, I need help. And it was like on a daily basis. And then it started saying, his pleas started getting desperate.
Sí, pero porque también, if you think about it, they're probably like, ya no sabe ni qué hacer, pretty much. Like, he's just trying to get out of stuff now. And
he ended up getting released in July of 2013.
With no assistance.
Right. But a few months, just a few months before he was set to be released in July, he sent letters to the county attorney of Johnson County and the Board of Parole. He talked to his prison social worker, and he asked his mom and his fiance at the time to all help him get placed in an emergency protective custody for psychiatric hospitalization.
Like, he was asking. Yeah. Like, he was begging.
But nothing was done.
No, of course not.
The county's attorney's office let Nikko know that they received his letters, but that they needed proper documentation from the correctional service.
Oh,
his
my
paperwork.
God.
They needed his paperwork, because ahí te evalúan. So they needed the notes from his psychiatrist. Send the paperwork
but
over
how
to
about
them.
you try at least to listen to what he has to say? Like, dude, he's been in jail. Like, what is... Oh, my gosh.
So the county attorney, I think they got with the Department of Correctional Services about Nikko's request, and a psychologist, I think a psychologist, psychiatrist, I'm not sure. His name is Dr. Whalage, I think. He was employed by the state, by the correctional department. And it says, quote unquote, that he, Dr. Whalage, deliberately withheld a report by another doctor, Dr. Baker, that had also evaluated Nikko, where Dr. Baker stated that Nikko was, quote, mentally ill as well as a danger to others and will possibly require civil commitment prior to being released to ensure his safety as well as the safety of others. So ese reporte de Dr. Baker, Dr. Whalage no lo mandó. No se lo mandó al county.
Are you surprised?
Y why he withheld the report, nobody knows, but he ended up being fired. Dr. Whalage.
Por eso.
Por eso.
Wow, okay. Pues, I mean, at least hicieron algo. Still didn't help the situation.
So Nikko, cuando lo dejaron salir in July 2013, he was released into the general population straight out of solitary confinement, which he had been in for 2 years straight.
No puede ser.
He, how I said a little bit earlier that he had been sentenced for 18 and then it was up to 21. So cuando ya salió, he had served 10 and a half years out of his 21-year prison sentence because of the good time law in Nebraska, where an inmate receives a credit for every day that they served. And it usually just doesn't apply to a capital murder charges. But yeah.
But he had been in jail porque robó, no?
Yeah. So, but if you are not eligible for this good time law if you committed a capital crime.
Okay.
Yeah. After his release, So he got out, right, for a little bit. But there's a period of time, like a period of 10 days, where Nikko Jenkins will go on his killing spree. And his judge later, Judge Peter Battalion, I think, or Battalion, he would later call it one of the worst killing sprees in the history of the state.
They could have avoided it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
They could have avoided it.
So he was released on the 30th. Now we're going to jump to August 11th. So, right, it's been, like a little bit over a week, almost 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So on August 11th.
So saliendo de la cárcel empezó a matar gente.
Mm-hmm.
No
saliendo, porque salió el 30. Pero esto empieza en August 11th. So a week, almost 2 weeks after.
No saliendo, güey.
Pues sí.
Nada más salió, comió, se bañó, cagó y ya fue a matar gente. O sea, básicamente lo que pasó.
Yeah.
Wow.
On August 11th of 2013, the bodies of 2 men were found near a swimming pool at Spring Lake Park in Omaha around 5 a.m. The bodies of Jorge Cajiga Ruiz, who was 29, and Juan Uribe Peña, who was 26, were found inside a white Ford pickup truck with their pockets kind of like inside out. Jorge Cajiga Ruiz's autopsy revealed that his cause of death was a single shotgun wound to the head, and it went through his hand first. So, como I guess he tried to put up his hand to shield himself. Mm-hmm. And then Juan Uribe Peña's autopsy revealed that his cause of death was a single gunshot to the head or the face. And according to KETV 7, both men were from Querétaro.
Wow.
Yeah. And both of their bodies were going to, get sent back home to be buried. And it said that Jorge was married and he had 2 sons with his current spouse. And I believe he had like a 7-year-old from a previous relationship. And the only thing that I could find or that they said about Juan was that he was a member of a church y que he just mostly kept to himself for the most part.
So they weren't like involved in anything. Mm-hmm. They were just like,
And I'll get to what happens a little bit later. Now, on August 19th, 2013, just before 7 a.m., a man named Bobby Rogers arrived to his house from his convenience store job. And right outside his detached garage, vio el cuerpo de una persona tirada en el piso.
The fuck?
And he was like, fuck that shit. He went and knocked on his neighbor's door and he was like, hey, you need to call the police, right?
Police, yeah.
So le hablaron a la policía, and then when they came back outside, he said que they saw que there was blood on the floor. So that person that was deceased was identified as 22-year-old Curtis Bradford. And the neighbor que Bobby fue a despertar para que hablaran a policía, he later goes on to say that him and his wife had heard what sounded like gunfire the night before between 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m., which was a Sunday. So this was a Monday cuando lo encontraron.
So lo encontraron en la mañana.
En la mañana, yeah, right before 7 in the morning. Y later, la mom de Curtis, I think her name is Velita, I think that's how you say it, Glasgow. Ella dice that Curtis had been in some trouble when he was younger in his teenage years. And he went to prison for burglary when he was 18, but that he had been out. He was turning his life around and that he had planned to attend ITT Technical Institute in September to study business and entrepreneurship.
So he was trying to turn his life around. Pobrecito.
Yeah. So that was... First was August 11th, August 19th. Now we're going to August 21st. So on August 21st, in the wee hours of the early morning, around 2:15 a.m., the body of Andrea Kruger, who was 33 and a mother of 3, was found in the middle of the street on, I think it was 168th and 4th Street. So it was like a cross street. She was actually on her way home from working. She was a bartender. She worked that shift only 3 days a week. And she had been shot multiple times.
Damn.
And her car was missing.
Oh. But this is the first time that they find something missing from all the... Okay.
So she was driving a 22 Chevrolet Traverse. The investigation later revealed that the vehicle was abandoned. And when they found it, somebody had tried to set it on fire.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And which they tried to set it on fire like around 4:45 a.m. And el carro de ella, they actually ended up finding it that day, pero más tarde, like around 6:30 later in the evening. Is that like late afternoon or is that early?
No, it's in the evening.
That's considered evening
Yeah,
already?
I think so.
So what's late afternoon?
Como las 3.
Okay, like 3, 4 and stuff. Okay. I always get confused. Now, during Andrea's autopsy, her cause of death was gunshot wounds to the face.
Shit.
And they actually face, neck and stuff. And then they found 9mm bullets were recovered from her.
Damn. Multiple, you said? Mm-hmm. Golly.
Now, it was the investigation of Andrea's murder that led the police to connect all 4 killings. Right? First, it was Juan and Jorge, and then Curtis, Ilo, Andrea. And it was actually through Crime Stopper tips and through ballistics.
Okay.
As far as the first 3 killings went, deer slugs had been found at each crime scene. I didn't know what the fuck a deer slug was.
I was about to say, what the hell? Like a slug? Like
the bug?
Like a bug?
Is it a bug, right?
I don't know. An animal?
Es como
Un chocho?
Fuck.
Un chochito.
Turbo. Gary, what is he? A snail.
A snail?
Like a slug, like
Yo
a snail?
No sé, güey. ¿Qué es eso, un deer slug?
Okay, I'm going to tell you because I had to Google it, right?
Yeah.
And it said that it's just a heavy projectile made out of lead and other material that's fired usually from like a rifle or like a shotgun.
Oh, is it to kill deer? Like to hunt?
Yeah, just like deer hunting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for like deer hunting. And it has like ribs on the side. So yeah, it's mostly hunting ammunition. So that was found, Juan's and Jorge's and Curtis, because those were found there.
Oh, so basically they're like starting to find things that were
at first they're not connecting them, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
Now, when Andrea's car was recovered, an unspent 12-gauge shotgun shell was found, like in her car.
What's unspent?
Que no estaba usada.
Oh, okay.
Was found close, like to the center console, and then testing on that unspent shell showed that it was the same caliber as the ones used in the killings of August 11th and the killings of the 19th.
Okay, so then that's how they knew that there was something going on.
And it also had DNA, which it actually would later end up matching Nikko Jenkins' DNA and Andrea Kruger's DNA, which she was the one that was murdered.
Wow.
Now, Nikko, de por sí ya lo andaban, checando because he had just gotten out of jail, and all that stuff. So they eventually ended up placing him under surveillance, and he was seen entering an apartment or like a room or something like that with a brown bag. Uh-huh. And they were able to obtain a search warrant for that bag, which contained a Remington Model Express Magnum 12-gauge shotgun.
I tried to say that 5 times. That was good.
And a High Point carbine model 995 rifle. The spent shell casings of that rifle were found at Andrea's murder scene. And after testing was done on that rifle, it revealed that it also had Curtis's DNA on it.
What the fuck? So it's all coming together, boo-boo.
Further ballistics evidence showed that the spent slug from Curtis's crime scene was shot from the other gun recovered from that bag, the shotgun.
Okay.
Now, Nikko, like I just said, he had been on police's radar, and he was arrested on August 29th for unrelated charges. Yeah, unrelated charges.
No, another ant.
Oh, how many ants?
We're up to 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the other unrelated charges were making terroristic threats.
What the hell?
A woman. She's kind of like referenced as a like acquaintance, pero dice que fue su novia or like one of his girlfriends or something. Pero she called the police because she told him that Nikko had threatened to kill her and her family, and that he was going to send, quote, demonic forces to her mom's home.
Not demonic forces.
And she also later reported that one of Nikko's family members were outside her house. And another time that she said that she was being followed in her car by someone who was associated with Nikko. And I think she stopped. She was driving. I don't know if it was a red light or a stop sign, pero que el carro like pulled up beside her. And they asked her what was her name.
Okay.
And she gave a different name than what they were asking for. And she said cuando les dijo el nombre diferente, like they took off.
Oh, so querían hacerle daño. Oh,
querían verificar, sí, yeah. And so besides the terroristic threats, he was also had been arrested on suspicion of possession of a firearm by a prohibited person.
So basically you're telling me that this fool was not only killing people, and haciendo otras mamadas in between all of this other stuff that he was doing, like threatening people, andaba comprando weapons and all this other stuff. Like,
yeah.
He was just like out there just
running, fucking shit up.
Yeah, just balls to the wall, basically. Yeah. Wow.
So he was, arrested on those charges, and his bond was set at that time $500,000. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when he was arrested, he was with other people, right? And ya que lo iban a arrestar, they were like, okay, lo vamos a interrogar in regards to Andrea's murder, right? Ya que lo tenemos ahí metido. So
just Andrea's murder?
Yeah.
For now?
For now.
Okay.
So cuando lo arrestaron, like he wasn't by himself. When they got up to the house that he was arrested, they actually ended up arresting others.
Había más gente.
Más gente.
Okay.
Erica Jenkins, su hermana, una de sus hermanas, was also taken into custody.
Ay, la madre, estaba toda la family, pues.
Christine Bordeaux, who was 39. It says a friend or a cousin. That's what it says. I don't know if how people, they're like, oh, this is my cousin. Is it not really your cousin?
No, never. They're never your cousin. Or your tia.
You just known him since you were little.
Long. Or your tia, yeah.
So that's what Christine Bordeaux, I couldn't verify if she was a cousin or like a friend cousin. But she was also taken into custody, and she was actually being held by the U.S. Marshal because she was actually accused of buying the ammunition for Nikko, who wasn't supposed to be having a gun in the first place, right?
Oh my gosh!
And that ammunition was purchased on the 2nd of August. So that's what they were charging her first.
Literally, cuando saliendo, te estoy diciendo, nada más fue al baño, cagó, se bañó y empezó a hacer shit that he was supposed to be doing.
Now, Christine, like I just said, she would eventually be charged with felon in possession of ammunition, but the charges would later be dismissed because they had caught a video surveillance of somebody buying the ammunition that looked like her. But al último, when they dropped the charges, it was because no fue ella. It wasn't her.
Oh, okay.
It was actually ended up being Nikko's mom, Lori.
What the hell?
That was buying
Hasta la mamá también andaba ayudando?
Yeah. And then Christine would also later testify against Nikko, because she knew what had happened during those killings. And another person that was arrested along with Nikko, Erica, Christine, was Lori, his mom, who was 46 at the time.
Oh my God.
And she was taken into custody.
This is a family affair.
Mary J. Blunt. And Lori was booked on suspicion of tampering with the witness, because she was trying to intimidate the woman that had called that she was being threatened by Nikko.
No me digas.
And they thought that she was trying to intimidate her. So at that time, her bond was set at $150,000. And she would actually later be charged with 2 counts of being an accessory. And her prison sentence would actually ended up being combined for a total of 15 years. And she wouldn't be eligible for release until 2028.
Damn.
Yeah. También otra que arrestaron was Melanie Jenkins, otra hermana.
Dude, they were all there. Tenían family reunion and shit. Pues acaba de salir el compa de la cárcel. So they went to go see him y le ayudaron a hacer todo estas mamadas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She was also arrested for being another person that was trying to intimidate the woman that had called.
No, es que no puede ser esto.
She was charged with 2 counts of witness tampering, and the same as her mom. And her bail was set at $250,000. También, while he was being held in jail, the police were waiting for DNA to come back, right? De Nikko. Pero ya estaba en la cárcel, ya lo tenían.
Yeah, they were like, we have him.
We have him,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, cuando they were gonna finally question him and stuff, they were just waiting for the DNA. So when they were gonna finally question him about the murders and stuff, the killings, it was September 3rd. Okay? He was arrested on the 29th. Yeah, they're like, okay, we're gonna talk to you about these killings, September 3rd. The interrogation is online. I couldn't find the whole thing, which I don't think I could watch the whole thing. It was I think 8 hours. So there's only bits and pieces, but you just kind of get the highlights of the interrogation. And then he just rambles on, and he's wearing a yellow ass SpongeBob jumpsuit.
Not the SpongeBob.
Yeah, como una... Well, yeah, sponge, cuando está lavando los trastes and stuff. You know how they're fucking yellow and shit? Really bright. Yeah, se miraba. He would look like a sponge. He says... At first, he's rambling, and he's like, it wasn't me. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
He said that he just gave the intelligence to other people.
Les prestó la intelligence.
Yeah. He was telling them, it wasn't me. I was just letting them know what lights or what streets didn't have cameras, what streets were super fucking dark. I knew when the bars closed. I knew at what time bartenders were walking through their cars. I was just giving them, all the info.
That makes so much sense, though. You should really...
And then he was telling them, he was telling the investigators, yeah. He was I'm betraying my family by telling you all this. And he looked heartbroken, like he was really betraying his family.
I'm not trying to laugh, but dude, some people, like, the nerve that these people, like, that these people that have, no tienen vergüenza. Like, no tienen vergüenza, like, that do crime, like, no tienen vergüenza, like, por lo menos be like, no, si fui yo, or something, like, have the nerve to do, no, pero then they want to lie and say, no, it wasn't me, bro, we have all this evidence against you. They say no.
Y there's a part que hasta se sienta en el piso. They're like, dude, are you good? And then the interrogation goes on for 8 hours. And it gets to the point, where they start playing good cop, bad cop. Y todo
I mean, they try all of them.
All the stuff.
Like, we're going to put you in the jail, but then we'll let you go. But, dude, I'm your friend, but I'm not your friend.
We know you didn't mean it. Yeah. We know people make mistakes.
People make mistakes. You've been in jail for a long time. You don't know any better. All of that.
So they don't believe him, of course, right? Que está diciendo that he was just giving out intelligence.
Do you think so? I mean, yo pensé que that was pretty solid.
No, they're like, like we were just, like we just said, they tell him, you need to tell us what really happened because we don't want the public to think something that didn't happen. And then it's going to look worse than what it actually was, Le dice, if maybe it was just a robbery gone wrong, you didn't mean it. But we need to know so we can,
help you or whatever. Right.
And so, like, the interrogation actually rolls on until the 4th, right? Overnight.
Pinche 8-hour shift and shit.
And it gets to the point where, like, the detectives, I'm pretty sure they've had it. They're like, we have you. We have your DNA. We have you in the car.
Just tell me what happened, bruh. Just tell me what happened.
Just tell us what happened and who else was involved.
Yeah.
Because there had been surveillance that said that another car drove away también with el carro de Andrea. So they knew other people were involved. And there were other tips that came in that said that they knew that other people were involved. At some point, he confesses, right? He confesses and that he heard the voice of the Egyptian serpent god, Apophis.
Not the Egyptian serpent god.
Apophis. And that he heard his voice telling him to commit the crimes.
Well, maybe it wasn't the serpent god. Maybe it was just you.
And he goes to explain that in the killings of Jorge and Juan, he says that the last thing that he remembered was that he was in a car. Y que después, the next thing, that he was in front of these two guys, or individuals as he calls them, but that he didn't remember shooting them, right? This is what he said. Mm-hmm. The investigation later revealed in regards to Juan and Jorge was that they were lured by Nikko's sister, Erica, and the friend cousin, Christine, with the promise of, like, sexual favors.
Wow.
So Jorge and Juan met Erica and Christine at a tequila nightclub, and they had spent hours con ellos, right? And then that the girl suggested that they go to the park. En donde los encontraron. So I guess at some point, Christine, the cousin friend,
le habló a
Nikko
y
le dijo,
we're over here.
I think one of them has at least $1,000.
For $1,000?
Well, the people kill for less. Obviously, we know that.
I know, but I'm like, that's crazy.
When they made it to the park, I guess at some point, I don't know if si Nikko ya estaba ahí or si él les cayó, like...
they had, like, a plan already. They ambushed them, basically.
Yeah, so then Nikko shot both of the men in the head with the shotgun.
See, that's too much. And then you could have shot him in the knee or something. I don't know.
And then les quitaron, I guess, the billfolds were taken. So when asked about Curtis, right? Nikko también dice lo mismo, pretty much. So Curtis and Nikko, they were together the night before.
Okay. So they knew each other.
They knew each other.
Okay.
And Nikko said that when they were together, he heard Apophis, his friend.
Oh, el bestie.
Now, the investigation later reveals that Nikko and Curtis had been at a party together the night before because they knew each other from prison. From being, when they were incarcerated. And they took a picture together, toda la cosa, and they were, like, throwing up gang signs, arm in arm, like, smiling, like besties. Friends, like besties.
Friends.
Yeah. Like, you're my homie.
Yeah, like, we're cool. Cool, yeah.
Yeah. Now, hours later, Curtis was picked up by Nikko and Erica, la sister.
Otra vez la Erica, pues.
La Erica. And they had, at some point, that saying that they were going to go commit like a burglary or a robbery. And
so wait. They
Curtis,
were chilling, drinking, thrilling. But how is it that they turned into, hey, you know what? Let's go rob.
Right. I don't know. I guess it was a vibe.
How is that a vibe, Stella? How can somebody in that's our listeners?
It's not funny, honestly.
It's not funny. I just don't understand
how do you go from
the mentality. Like when I'm chilling, vibing, bro, I'm ready for bed. Like I'm not about to, hey guys, let's go rob.
I might buy random shit on Amazon, right?
I've done that before. Or even like on Shein, compro shit that I don't need and shit. I get that.
And then you return it.
And then I return it. Pero de ahí, I say, hey, you know what? Let's go rob. Like I just don't get the mentality there.
Yeah, but why? We don't want to anyway.
No,
right?
I don't want to know. I'm just saying,
where
like,
does that come from?
Where does that come from? Like, I just want it, like, and I guess that's why the whole human brain is so amazing to me, and the thought process of humans, because it's like, dude, how the fuck do you go from chilling? Hey, come on home and let's take pictures.
He took, like screamed like, what are you doing? Nothing, chilling, killing.
He
really did that. He
like
was chilling and killing.
And stealing.
Yeah.
Like he did all of it. I don't know, guys. I'm just kind of confused a little bit. Like my nephew says, a little bit.
That was the plan, right? They were going to go rob, and they're like, okay, Nikko and Erica, we're going to go pick up Curtis. And Curtis, cuando recogieron, he was wearing a dark outfit. He was wearing a hoodie and gloves, where he was actually found with the gloves on cuando lo encontraron, que ya lo habían matado al muchacho. He was actually wearing the gloves. So
I'm literally mind boggled right now.
So Nikko, at some point, I don't know if to kind of just go with the flow, like pretending that they were gonna do a robbery, le dio la pistola, the high point rifle, se la dio a Curtis. So he was handling it or whatever and be like, yeah, bro, this is what you're going to use. That's what I imagine, right? I'm not saying this is what happened, but when they were driving to the location of the robbery, se la dieron. And once they arrived at the location, Erica shot him once in the head.
Oh, not Erica.
And then Nikko said, this is how you do it. And then he shot him in the head.
Wow.
Yeah.
But why were they mad at him, though?
Because según Erica, he was friends with the rival gang or something like that. Algo así. Don't quote me on that, but yeah.
So wait a minute. How old are these people?
Erica was 23 and Nikko was 26, I believe 27.
Well, he had been in jail.
In solitary confinement.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to say nothing, but I wouldn't expect for him to be up to date. But, bro, come on.
Or well. Yeah.
But come on, dude.
Now, that was Curtis, right? And as far as the murder of Andrea, her killing, Christine, the cousin, told investigators, because you know how I said that she testified against Nikko?
Uh-huh.
So she told investigators that the members of the Jenkins family were out that night, like ready to carjack somebody. They needed to carjack somebody because the car that they were all riding around in era de estaba registrado to the name of one of Nikko's girlfriends, and they didn't want to be riding in it anymore. She said that Erica estaba manejando.
Okay.
And that Christine herself was in the passenger side. Que Nikko was in the back with his uncle Warren.
Well, now, wait a minute. Now, where Warren come in?
They were just out that night.
They were chilling.
Yeah, they were chilling. Killing, stealing.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Like I said, they were just trying to find somebody to carjack, right? So they came.
Because they needed a new car because el car que traían era de la novia de una de las novias de Nikko. Okay.
Sí. Yeah. So it's sad. They're all tragic, right? Pero like Andrea's, like she literally just pulled up behind them at a stop sign.
What the fuck? No estaba haciendo nada la muchacha.
No.
She's so crazy.
And they were at 168th, it was like an intersection, and they were all stop signs, and she just happened to pull up behind them or stop behind them. And according to Christine, dice que Nikko and Warren jumped out of the car and they rushed her. So nomás they pulled her out, que Nikko la sacó del carro, threw her on the floor, and then that he shot her 4 times. And twice in the head, once in the neck, and once in the shoulder.
I just have a question real quick. You couldn't just take in her car? Like, did you have to shoot her and kill her?
Yeah.
4 times?
Yeah, and I think her husband had called her that...
You had already taken her out the car. Just go. Llévate el carro.
Like, I mean,
yeah, like, just go.
And I I think her husband has said that I think their youngest was sick, and I think that she said she was going to stop by medicine too to get medicine. So I think she took like a different route home that she usually didn't take or something like that. So that's what happened in Andrea's.
I mean, she was just a bystander, basically.
They were all. I mean, they all were. I mean, también Jorge y Juan. I mean, how did they know? They were just being out trying to,
get some booty.
Yeah. So on September 4th, Nikko was arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of use of a weapon to commit murders, and 4 counts of felon in possession of a firearm. The next day, he appeared in court for a hearing where he was denied bail, obvi. And
Well, I mean, ya si fuera el colmo, sí, ¿no?
yeah, and a public defender was assigned to him. And his preliminary court hearing was set for October 1st. Okay.
Now, let's remind everybody that is listening that we are in the same span of the same year still.
It's been like a month.
Like a month. And all of this happened within a whole month.
No, he did all of this within 10 days.
Within 10 days. Plus, so basically, he was in jail, then was not in jail anymore within less than a month.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
So, prosecutors were going to seek the death penalty, right?
Where are they? Nebraska? Do they have the death penalty?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was Nikko, right? Just to kind of like talk a little bit about the other ones that were arrested and stuff. On September 13, Erica, su hermana Jenkins, she was charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of Curtis.
She was in all of them.
She was involved. No, she was driving.
She was driving
for Andrea.
Yeah.
She shot Curtis, and then she lured Jorge and Juan.
Yeah, so she was in all of them. She had something to do in all of them.
Yeah, so she was actually charged in the first degree in the shooting death of Curtis Bradford, and she would actually later be found guilty of his murder and would be sentenced to life in prison. And by that time, she was convicted of Curtis's murder, she had already been serving 40 to 60 years because she was convicted of 2 counts of robbery and the deaths of Jorge and George.
What the?
Yeah. And she was only 23, 24.
She's not coming out of jail.
No. Now...
Y a la mamá también la metieron a la cárcel, ¿no?
Yeah. Sí, pero ya dije lo que pasó con ella. She wasn't going to be eligible until 2028.
28, yeah.
Pero también otra sibling was involved, the youngest one. The one that it's like... She wasn't hija de David McGee, but it was kind of like raised with them. Her name was Lori Sales. She was 18. She actually was charged with being an accessory to murder because I think, according to prosecutors, she got rid of the murder weapon that was used to kill Curtis. So her bond was set at $500,000. Now,
this is a whole family, guys. This is the whole family.
On September 17th, Warren, el tío, was apprehended in connection to Andrea's killing.
Yeah.
Y lo encontraron like in an Indian reservation, like somewhere north of in the state.
Where you going, bro? ¿Pa dónde vas? Hágase para comprar. ¿Pa dónde vas?
He was charged with being an accessory to a felony, and the charges were later upgraded to attempted, I think, murder. I'm sorry, I just wrote attempted. He would later be found guilty and sentenced to 40 years in prison for the role that he had played in Andrea's murder. And he, of course, already had like a previous record and all that stuff. So it wasn't his first time. Yeah. So that's them, other people that were involved.
Okay.
So cuando Nikko, appeared before Judge Peter on October 9th to enter his plea for his charges, no dijo nada. El güey se quedó like mudo.
He forgot how to talk.
He didn't say anything. And when you don't say anything, it means that you're pleading not guilty.
Not guilty.
Yeah. So that's what Peter, not Peter, Judge Peter.
Dr. Peter? Peter Parker?
Judge Peter. So that's what Judge Peter,
Not Spider-Man.
Click, click, clack. That's what Dr. entered. Yeah. That was that. On November 3rd, he wrote separate letters to prosecutors, Judge Peter, and the World Herald, which is actually like a statewide newspaper for Nebraska. So he wrote them all letters stating that he wanted to plead guilty to all charges of first-degree murder and the weapons charges to shield the victim's family from gruesome crime scene photos and any court testimonies. So that's what he said. He was like, I'm just letting y'all know. I'll just plead guilty. We won't have a trial. I'll just get, sentenced or whatever, That's what he was telling him.
Oh, that's so nice of him.
After that, I just letting you know there's a lot. And I didn't even go into all the details, but we'd be here 3 hours.
Now, girl, I got things to do.
Yeah. There's a lot of competency hearings held for years. Like, this would go on for years.
Well, they were trying to get him out of it, basically.
In November 2013, during a hearing, the court received Nikko's psychiatric evaluation, right? By Dr. Bruce D. Gutnick. And based on Dr. Gutnick's opinion, Nikko suffered from, quote, schizophrenia continua severe, and that he had hallucinations and delusions and blunted affect. And he also said that he could not rule out schizoaffective or any other specified personality disorder, according to Dr. Gutnick.
Okay.
Based on his opinion, he did not deem Nikko competent to stand trial or sentencing, but that his competency could be restored with appropriate treatment, including antipsychotic medications.
So you're telling me, and rewind, you're telling me that he is incompetent to stand trial, but if you give him medicine, he'll be competent.
He can be competent, yeah.
So basically,
we need to get him help.
We need to get him help.
And then reevaluate him again, just to make sure that the help that we gave him will work, right? Or work. So he was sent to the Lincoln Regional Center to get appropriate treatment, okay? Now we're in February of 2014. Oh, there's another end. The fifth end.
Now.
Fifth end, okay. In February of 2014, the next competency hearing was held by the court. And based on the opinion of psychiatrist Y. Scott Moore, sounds funny to me. Why? Scott Moore? According to Y. Scott Moore, Nikko was competent to stand trial. He based it on 1, awareness of charges against him, 2, understanding the legal procedures and functions of the people in the courtroom, and 3, ability to make rational defense. He believed that Nikko's diagnosis was antisocial personality disorder and was mostly exaggerating mental illness for his benefit.
Okay.
And he also...
I can see a little bit of that.
He also believed that there was this very slim chance of Nikko having any other actual mental illness. So he was like, no.
He's playing. He's playing dumb, basically.
So based on what Y. Scott Moore said, the court found him competent to stand trial.
Okay, so now we're good for trial.
So that was February, right? In March, another hearing was held for Nikko, and during it, Nikko voluntarily waived his right to counsel and was granted the motion to represent himself, and was also appointed a public defender office to provide him an attorney for any assistance, right? So he was like, I got this, I'm gonna...
Why do they do that? I know, they just look dumb.
So that was that hearing. Then there was another hearing that was held in April where he was now representing himself, right? He was like, I am me, I got this. And
because he's so smart. Remember?
Yeah.
He was giving his smartness.
His intelligence.
His intelligence.
He called it
his wiseness.
And so during this one, where he was representing himself, he was going to plead guilty to all felony counts, which were the weapons charges.
Okay.
But in this case, in the case of like making up his mind how to plead for the weapons charge, he couldn't. He was like, I don't know, what should I plead guilty, not guilty?
Why
no
are you?
Jesus.
I just don't understand. I'm speechless.
He couldn't make up his mind, but al último, he entered a no contest plea to all of the charges because he didn't agree with the facts detailing the crimes and that were being stipulated by the prosecution. So the prosecution was like reading out all the details of the crime and what the investigation, revealed. And Nikko, when that was being read, he was like, "You fucking lying!" Like straight up, he was like, "Liar! That's a lie, Your Honor." He was like, I don't agree because even though it was my physical person that committed the murders, that he said that it wasn't him at that moment due to his psychosis condition of psychotic mania. So he's like, I can't agree with what you're saying. So I'm going to plead no contest. So no contest means that you accept the conviction but avoid the actual admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So his no contest plea was accepted and was found guilty on all charges since it has the same legal effect.
I cannot deal with this man.
Now,
I just looked him up by the way, and yeah, I do know who this is.
Nikko waived his right to have a jury determine if what the state was presenting was true and stated that he would rather have a 3-judge panel make the determination. So this 3-judge panel, we're going to review everything and then just, see if Now,
girl,
after this, Nikko was no longer allowed to represent himself.
Yes, please. I just feel like they should just make that a law.
And he was appointed a public defender by the court. And his defense team were like, he's not competent. He needs to be
vez.
evaluated.
Oh my God. They're just pushing back.
Yeah, they're like, he can't, for the sentencing phase, we're like, we don't know if he's competent for the sentencing phase. So he's going to have to be evaluated once more.
Even though he'd been evaluated already.
So again, this is how it went for a couple of years, right?
Wow.
And through all of this, he was like saying that he was going to commit suicide. So he was always doing something. That's why he needed to be like reevaluated, right?
Well, yeah.
Again, for this happened, continued to happen for the next couple of years or so. And he had other competency hearings where he was found not competent by some psychiatrists and then competent by other psychiatrists. So they were just like,
oh my God.
You know?
Make a decide.
In February 2015, we're in 2015 now, he tried to dismiss his counsel and he told the court that he was competent to proceed, that he wasn't going to participate in any more evaluations because they were a waste of his time. He was like, I'm done.
His time.
Yeah, his time.
Okay.
So that was February when he said that. In March of 2015, he was found competent. Okay.
Puta madre.
And the sentencing hearing was set for July 7th already. Okay. Sentencing hearing, July 7th, 2015.
This is when it's going to happen. We're going to sentence him.
Now, in between waiting for the July hearing to arrive, in April, Nikko tried to carve 666 into his forehead, but he was looking into a mirror, so they ended up looking like upside down 9s.
Oh my God.
And on June 10th, Judge Peter delayed his July death penalty hearing because the state of Nebraska had passed a law that repealed the death penalty.
What?
Yeah. So on June 27th...
There's no way. At this time, they should just go based on since he's been going back and forth.
On June 27th, Nikko carved the word Satan on his face, cut his tongue so it could look like a snake's, and smeared blood all over the walls of his cell.
Wow. It's looking really good for you, Nikko. Good job.
In August, enough signatures had been gathered to keep at bay the law that repealed the death penalty and for it to actually just be placed on the ballot for the general election in November of 2016. So they're like, okay, this law can't be passed right now. It's going to have to go to the ballot, and we're back to accepting the death penalty in the state until then, until people vote. Oh
my gosh.
Now, since that happened, a new hearing was going to be set. Well, again, we're like, okay, the death penalty is back on for the state. Meanwhile,
let's get the new hearing. Okay.
But before then, in September, Nikko mutilated his penis, which required 27 stitches. And
ouch.
He said it was an homage to the Egyptian serpent god Apophis.
Oh, he's still with the Egyptian serpent god.
That was in September. In October, Judge Peter...
Okay, I have a question though. Before, so if you're doing an homage to the serpent god, then why did you allow them to give you stitches?
I don't think you have choice. Don't they like sedate you or something?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, if he would have been like, hey, this is for my serpent god,
I don't think he was announcing it before he did it. I think
then how did they find out that he had done it and then put all those stitches on?
Because he's not in solitary confinement. We know what that does to him.
Well,
so
yeah.
No lo ponen.
I don't know. But I need to look that up because, I mean, I'm pretty sure he could refuse the stitches and then probably the freaking jail was tired of his ass.
But I think his case was such a high-profile case that,
I don't know. I would have been like, nope, you can bleed out.
In October, Judge Peter finally set the death penalty hearing for early January 2016.
Okay.
But in November, he sliced his penis again.
Déjenlo pues que no quiere penis.
In his forehead.
He sliced it.
And he, for overall, ended up needing 65 stitches.
Pero ¿por qué? ¿Dónde están? Where's he getting these knives from?
They were having, a lot of, Judge Peter...
Dr. Peter again?
I was going to call him Doctor. Judge Peter was like, well, how is he doing this? They're like, he's being watched all the time. And they think that other inmates were handing him stuff, in food or something like that.
I don't understand.
Yeah. They're like, how is it that this man continues to... hurt himself.
Yeah, and slice his penis and needing 27 stitches.
Or 65. Or, his face.
That is a lot of stitches. You know how big the slice has to have been for them to have to need?
65 for his forehead too, altogether.
Por eso te digo, but he had 27 in his penis the first time.
The first time.
So then you're telling me, he must have had a pretty big knife or had to have, sawed at it for a while.
Or quién sabe.
Oh, wow. That's some crazy shit right there.
In December, another competency hearing was held.
No, hermana, no, ya estuvo con esas competency hearings, ya.
And Nikko was deemed not competent.
Ay, no.
And it wouldn't be until September of 2016 that he would be found competent to proceed with the sentencing phase.
I don't know about... we need to talk about this, Nebraska. Who do I have to write a letter to?
And it would
Dr. Peter?
I don't think a judge has anything to do with it.
I'm just saying, man.
And it would actually finally begin for November of 2016. A 3-judge panel imposed a sentence of death for each of the 4 murders.
Yes.
Of course, automatic appeals followed right after.
Ugh.
And in 2020, actually, the United States Supreme Court refused to hear his case. And as of right now, he's still currently sitting on death row.
In Nebraska.
With no execution date.
Oh.
And in 2019, news came out that Nikko was getting married.
Oh, se va a casar el compa.
Según. He met 46-year-old Dawn Arguello from Lubbock through a nonprofit.
Not Texas.
Well, está una aquí. They're like right next to each other.
Sí, güey, pero not Texas.
And they met through a nonprofit inmate advocacy group. He tattooed her name on his forehead, I believe.
How? He already had the 9s on there. ¿Dónde le cupo?
No sé. He figured it out. And then I saw a video where he's like serenading her, le canta una canción y todo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. A mí nunca me han cantado canción.
So she was contacted for comment cuando salieron estos news that she was going to get married to Nikko. And she said that when they asked her, you knew he tattooed your name on him. She was like, I wish he hadn't done that. And she, quote, she said, he doesn't need to be self-mutilating like that. And when asked if he had done it porque se iban a casar, she said, quote, I'm not commenting on that. He's not going to say anything, and I'm never going to say anything. So como que no quería decir si iban a casar o no. And I couldn't find anything that said that they did get married or that it was actually true. But I think it was because when I think her boss, the boss of the advocacy group, she was kind of talking to news outlets también. One reporter heard que le contestó la llamada de Dawn on the other line, her boss, y que le dijo, you didn't say anything about the marriage thing, right? Or something like that. So, yeah, so that's the case of Nikko Jenkins. And this is just like all the things that he went through is just scratching the surface. Because we didn't even go into like a lot of the stuff that, he went through, when he was younger and stuff like that. But it's really fucked up because he was telling you guys, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. And sadly, that is probably the case in a lot of stuff that happens, and a lot of the people that are in jail that need help that don't get the help that they need because unfortunately, we don't have the best mental health system, even if we're not in jail. Prison, yeah. You imagine, like, if we are in jail, like,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Nomás te echan in solitary confinement.
Yeah, like, figure it out. Just be alone and figure it out. Like, you imagine it's like you're fighting your own demons.
He was.
Like, literally. At least over there, he wasn't cutting his penis and shit.
No, I think he still was and stuff, trying to commit suicide.
Yeah, but anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you would like to, you can follow us on Instagram at
Cafecito and Crime Pod, and you can leave us a review or download our episodes.
Yes, please download our episodes. Let us know what you think, and
we hope you have a good day.
Yeah, and if you would like to maybe suggest some cases, we're open to any suggestions. And you guys have a good, wonderful rest of the summer day.
Bye.